Greetings to all our friends all over the world. This is the first, probably, and the unique event where you are gathered here on the virtual platform from East to West Coast. I'm not talking of US, I'm talking of the world. Because some of you are getting just out of your bed in the West Coast, and others are about to see the sunset. Our friends from India, rather Asia, to Europe, to Africa, to North America, to South America. This is an unprecedented event where you will be learning something very unique about this film. And we really appreciate your time despite a busy schedule, especially the people in the East Coast who are at work or are about to go to work. This is history. This is a film as we all know it, but it's a document of what reflects on all of us today and every day. History has been repeated time and again. And here we have something called LOC. We all grew up with this term, LOC. I had always wondered why there was a line needed to control when God created the world as one platform. But that is the reality, that is the truth. Line of control. I have with me the top team of this film. Of course, the film stops at the last man standing, but some of them are here with us today. But before we go on to that, let's see a glimpse of the film, the trailer. Carolina, we'll have the two segments. One is in the English version and the Hindi version, and the film has been also dubbed into Arabic, but we have two versions, English and Hindi. So we'll see both the trailers. Thank you.
Do you remember when I asked you to tell me a story? A true story.
So if you had to join the movement, which side would you choose?
I don't want to choose.
Why do I have to fight at all?
War is coming.
I'm Captain Cadian. Do you know why I've been sent here? To the line of control. My job is stopping the boys going from this side of the line to the other side. If we could stop that, then this entire conflict would simply go away.
We're looking for our friend Hussein. He disappeared.
Many boys disappear these days. Where were you?
I was looking for Hussein.
You fool! You put us all at risk!
I've got a job for you.
What kind of job? You know what they made me do?
I would rather you pick up the ID from the dead than become one of them.
Young men laying their lives down for freedom in thousands, and look at you,
Papa!
whining about your brave friends who have gone to fight.
What do they give up their dreams for?
Remember me in your prayers.
What are they dying for?
पहले तो मुझे एक स्टोरी सुनाने वाले थे। एक ट्रू स्टोरी।
मान ले दोनों में से एक को चुनना पड़ा तो तू किसे चुनेगा?
पर चुनना ही क्यों है? जंग लड़नी जरूरी है क्या?
जंग होकर रहेगी।
सरकार को इस जगह की आतंकी हरकतों की पूरी जानकारी है।
आई एम कैप्टन कादियान। मेरे यहाँ आने की वजह जानते हो? लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पास। ये मेरे काम का सबसे मुश्किल हिस्सा है। उन नौजवानों को रोकना जो सरहद के इस पार से उस पार जाना चाहते हैं। अगर हम कामयाब रहे तो इस सारे फसाद की जड़ ही खत्म हो जाएगी।
हम अपने दोस्त हुसैन को ढूंढ रहे हैं, वो लापता है।
आजकल कई लड़के लापता हैं। कहाँ थे इतनी रात के?
हुसैन की तलाश में गया था।
बेवकूफ! तूने हम सबको खतरे में डाल दिया।
मेरे पास तुम्हारे लिए एक काम है।
किस तरह का काम? पता है मुझसे क्या करवा रहे हैं?
लाश बनने से तो बेहतर है कि तुम लाशों के आईडी कार्ड्स जमा करो।
आसमा!
हजारों नौजवान अपने हक के लिए इस आजादी की जंग में शहीद हो रहे हैं और तुम्हें देखो चूड़ियां पहनकर मातम मना रहे हो अपने दोस्तों की बहादुरी।
अपने अरमानों का गला घोट कर क्या मिला?
दुआ में याद रखना भाई।
क्यों लाशों के ढेर में पड़े हैं वो?
वो वक्त दूर नहीं, इंशाल्लाह।
So, my friends, this was the trailer which gave you a glimpse of the cinematic treat that you are going to watch when you see this film called Line of Control. We will have a session where we will have a quick introduction, then a Q&A, and then we go to Q&A with the makers of the film, and then you all can post your questions in the end. That will be the QA session. So let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm one of the producers of Line of Control, along with a whole team of women. Pali, who's here, Christy Coors-Beasley, Namrata Sharma, and Shweta Pakala. I'm very grateful to Sunil ji for moderating this film very close to our heart, and it has taken us a couple of years to come where we are. This is my 7th production in United States. I started my journey in Bombay, in the Bombay film industry. And I think I wanted to make these kind of films, and Hollywood has given me the opportunity to do it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Let's move to Chaitra Vedulapalli. Chaitra is based out of Seattle. Please tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Roshana and Rudy, being here. I'm the president and founder of Women in Cloud. We actually joined this movie as the executive producer to support movies that move hearts and change hearts, because we believe in the world of technology, storytelling is very important to ensure that we actually can experience, we can feel. Our mission is to democratize $1 billion of economic access, and storytelling is a critical component of how we democratize technology in the world of AI.
Thank you. Let's move to the man, Rudy Dharmalingam.
Hello, hi, hello everyone. I'm Rudy Dharmalingam. I'm an actor. I have been an actor for my entire professional life since I was 21, so yeah, 25 years now. Started my career in theatre, actually, mainly in theatre for about sort of 15 years. About 15 years. I spent most of my time in the West End, at Stratford Royal Shakespeare Company, and around the world as well. And I made a very conscious decision about 7 or 8 years ago to leave that world behind for the time being, and I sought another challenge in my professional life and try to pursue more of a sort of route down screen acting, because I was interested by the challenge and the different nuances that screen acting entails and the different methodology it entails. So, and this script came into my inbox a few years ago. I read it and I immediately thought to myself, I had to do it. I was on holiday at the time and I spoke to my wife and I just said, I have to do this. So, yeah.
Thank you, Rudy. We have Travis, the writer and the director, back. Travis, tell us about yourself.
Let's see, I grew up on the outskirts of Los Angeles in a little town called Lancaster, which is in the shadow of Edwards Air Force Base. I grew up as a writer. I spent most of my life writing. My first job actually was as a writer for a daily newspaper when I was 16 years old. As soon as I got a driver's license, I went and applied for a job with a local daily newspaper, and I started working there. And I was an editor by the age of 18. I continued to pursue that all through college. And during all that time, I was writing scripts and making short films and things like that. Eventually, I went to law school and then continued writing scripts. And and I still do that now. That's me in a nutshell.
Congratulations. What a journey, starting at the age of 16.
Yeah, it was a good journey. I quite enjoyed it.
Thank you, all of you, for making this happen on your time, despite busy schedules. And the guest, this is Sunil Hali. I'm based out of New York. And like everybody else, I love films. Of course, I love cricket also. But this film is something extraordinary, and I'm honored to be moderating this session. Let's go to the question answer with the makers. Travis, are you here? So tell us, what inspired you to adapt this heart-touching story? You know, it's a novel. It was a bestseller. And when you started to think on building this script, it needs a lot of research because there are all kinds of views. It's not about CNN. It's all about the reality. What went into it and how did you do it?
Yeah, so Roshana approached me about writing the script around the time of COVID during the pandemic. She said that she had this book that she had optioned that she'd had for quite some time. She asked me if I would read it and then adapt it. I told her absolutely not. We have this big issue in the States about cultural appropriation. And, you know, I told her you should find somebody more suitable for the project, probably someone from India or Kashmir. And she said, you know, she's done those sorts of things. Anyway, if you know anything about Roshana, you know, she's a lot like the camel that gets its nose into the tent for warmth. And once she gets that nose into the tent, she keeps creeping in. She gets her whole head and then the neck and then the arms. And before you know it, she's all the way in. So she finally convinced me to read the book. And once I read the book by Mirza Waheed, I was very, very moved by it. And after I had read it, there were a lot of things that I actually identified with in the story, especially in regards to the four boys and the boy as he lost his friends over the course of time. And I told her I'd take a crack at it. I would try and do a draft of the script. And I did, and she really liked it. Her investors said that they really liked it, and they must have because they financed the project. And then she asked me if I would like to direct it. We had a similar conversation in regards to cultural appropriation, but what she said that convinced me was that she didn't want the project to be politicized. And she felt that if she got someone from India, they would politicize it in a certain way. And if she got someone from Pakistan or Kashmir, any of those different regions, they would politicize it in a certain way. And she wanted to keep the story neutral. She just wanted to stay focused on the story of the four boys and the families and didn't necessarily want to give an opinion one way or the other. She didn't want the project to turn into propaganda. And that's how I got involved.
Excellent. I think you made an excellent choice. I've been involved in this project since Shana floated the business plan. And that was, I think, 2020. She sent me to read it. The business plan itself was amazing. But for our listeners and viewers here, this is based on a very successful novel by Mirza Waheed. As Travis mentioned to you, and Rashana wanted to adapt it. She is known for adapting novels. Rashana, why did you select this novel? As you see, the man who had to write the script was not for it. The man who was about to direct was not for it. It's not easy, especially when the backdrop is as difficult as this film has. It's not an easy film.
My life is full of accidents. And the Collaborator, the book, which we adapted into the movie Line of Control, my business partner had optioned it. We had optioned a couple of books, and this was one of them. And this was our pet project. We said nobody has shown this conflict in the way where you can experience both sides of the story, where you can peel the onion about both sides of the story. Human psychology normally tends to take sides. Either you're right or you're wrong. There is no acceptance of, I agree to disagree. There is no acceptance in the world today about, there are lots of gray shades, and there is no right side to the war. We took that emotion, that thread from the book and said and especially because it's set in Kashmir, very, very few films emerge from that region or set in Kashmir. And we thought the story resonated with any boy in any conflict zone around the world. So it also had a global element. A boy from Boko Haram, from Palestine, from South Korea, from even Myanmar. In a lot of places, these boys have similar stories. And so Gopi and I, my partner, we really decided that no one is going to adapt. When we went to Mirza Waheed and met him in London, he said, no one is going to adapt this book ever in my life. So it came as a shock, and he said, if you two idiots want to do it, then here's the option and go see what you can do with it. So, but my partner, he passed away suddenly, unfortunately, just before COVID, and the project took a little longer than I had imagined. It also, I think the project had its destiny. We had to find the right people. We had to find Chaitra, we had to find Travis, we had to find Rudy, we had to find the four boys, the heart and soul of the film. We had to find Asma, and we had to find Christy and Namrata and Shweta and the beautiful team, I think, that came together. All our cast and crew had the same vision, had the same emotional thread, and somewhere they all recognized the meaning of this book the way we did, the way Gopi and I did. And once the team came together, I said, there's no two ways. We have to make it. We were like a missile. You set us on a mission, we had to complete the mission. So the film is here, and it's going to be delivered day after tomorrow on April 17th.
Yeah, that's a very interesting backdrop. And to select, while we listen to both of you, Travis and Ashana, he was not sure whether this should be done, and you were very sure. But when you both came together, as you see, this is a boundaryless film. It doesn't have any connection with the geography. It can be anywhere. Eventually, when you thought of making a film, you have to have a target audience. Between you two, and you can independently tell me, who is and who was your target audience when you wrote it, when you made the film?
So when it was part of Roshana's pitch to me is that we want this to be a global audience. We want to approach the Mirza. I'll restart. When Roshana originally approached me about doing the project, part of her pitch was that it was for a global audience. And the way that Mirza Waheed had written the book, it being in English, he had meant it for not just Kashmir, not just for India, not just for that region, but for the entire world, and including the Western world, and to make them aware of Kashmir and the situation in Kashmir and its history and the kinds of things that people are living through in Kashmir. And so our audience really is everybody and anybody who's interested in people that live in a conflict zone.
And how about Rashana? Because you have the business angle in it, while Travis had the creative side of it.
So I always do some research with the books that I'm adapting about the audience and the history of that book. We are very drawn at Mulberry Films to telling human stories and real life stories. We're not excited about producing fantastical or, gore or horror and rom-coms. And when I researched conflict zones, when we started the film, there were 60 active border conflict zones. Now there are more than 100 by the time we have completed the film. And about 14 to 16% of the population is displaced even today and living in camps or displaced from their home, their birthplace, because of wars. Of the 14 to 15%, 100 million children are now without food, education, and basic needs. They don't even have the opportunity to dream, I want to be a filmmaker or a startup or kickstart some tech business or be a journalist or be an actor. They don't have those dreams. Their only means and thoughts is to survive. And we wanted to be very truthful to the situation. So 100 million children and the world in its scenario, I think the world I thought there is a very huge viewership for a film like this. Asghar Farhadi and Jafar Panahi recently made a film. It was just an accident, I think, which is very much in this genre. Zone of Interest is in this genre. In 2002, there was a film called No Man's Land. And, all the films have the same thread and same emotion and same message. I hope we can take these stories to more people. I hope more people make movies like this.
For our listeners and viewers, you are in a session with the makers of this beautiful film called Line of Control, LOC, which is going to be released, I think, on 17th. Let's move to the person who pushed it, because we can all have creative ideas and the ability to put something to screen, but the real one without whom the film cannot be made, especially I've come to realize, is the executive producer. And that too here, Chaitra is a techie. She, of course, mentioned in the beginning, if some of you missed it, she is the founder of Women in Cloud. So in Hindi, they call it Asman Mein. So I'm sure she loves Bollywood. She's from a part of India where films are a very important part of her life. Chaitra, tell us what attracted you truly to come behind this film as executive producer. Give me only two good reasons.
Sure, Sunil. There were multiple reasons for us to get attracted to the movie. But for this particular one, it was deeply personal. I grew up around the conflict zones when I was young. And when you grow up in that environment, you just don't witness the conflict. You actually live the invisible choices that come with it. The choices about safety, about trust, about who you can be and where you belong. So when Roshana talked about the line of control, it didn't feel like just a film, but it also felt like the story we knew and the experience you have gone through. And we both felt like from the technology ecosystem, this is the kind of emotion we wanted to have the people to see because of the geopolitical stuff that is happening. And the second reason that people don't expect from me is I love movies. So I watch movies once a week. This is how I regulate my emotion and reflect and reset instead of just talking to friends and just talking about it. But the movie definitely helps it. So for me, it was more than the entertainment. It was a tool for understanding humanity in helping people see what happens when there's a conflict happens and when you see among the friends and what compromises they have to make or sacrifices they have to make or the loyalty that they have to do to achieve the outcome. So what I always believed is if you want to change systems, you need technology. But if you have to change hearts, you need storytelling. And yes, filmmaking is a big risk, but the bigger risk is not telling the stories that can shift how we see each other today.
Yeah. Kudos to you and your team who have that focus and the ability to take the risk to express yourself, to connect with the world through filmmaking. But Rashana, why do you call it a all-women venture?
The bro club, the men didn't come through. But the first person who believed in me and us was Women in Cloud and Chaitra. And Women in Cloud brought in a whole force of women executive producers. I mean, I'll put all their names in the text. Some of them are here in our chat today. And then Christy and Namrata and Shweta, they really believed we had the conviction to support each other. We had the strength to go through it. It was not an easy film to make at all. We had resistance. We had a lot of power games throughout the making of a film like this. People forcing us to pick sides. Either the captain kills the boy or the boy kills the captain. I said, then our effort, the whole ये मुद्दा जो फिल्म बनाने का है वो पूरा defeat हो जाएगा. And these women helped me and helped the team and this film stand its ground with conviction, with love, with care, with tears and with blood. And we delivered what we started with. We have not moved one bit. We have walked the middle path with this film. So it's an all-women team who supported each other and understood. Our behind the crew was 65-70% of our crew in Georgia, in Tbilisi, where we shot this film, were also women.
While you get full credit for putting this all-women team to make this, but the protagonist here, the main man who is here with us is Rudy. And the one we have been talking to is Travis. So let's go to Rudy. You mentioned earlier when you read this novel, when it was sent to you, the script sent to you, you loved it and you were interested in it. It's a very complex role. For our listeners or viewers, Rashana just mentioned the captain, Turn the Captain, which will resonate throughout the film when you see it. He really haunts you whenever he comes on the screen and you don't want the scene to end. Every scene you want to see Captain. And that's Rudy. Dharmalingam, he is a very big name in at least Europe and UK. He's a Netflix hero. Rudy, tell us, when you saw this complex role, why would you accept such difficult role where you are neither dark nor bright?
Yeah. First of all, you mentioned that the character of the captain haunts the screen. I love that word, haunts the screen, or I can't remember how you phrased it, but that's really interesting because I didn't set out with that purpose to haunt the viewer. I have a very, I mean, I'm sure every actor would say this, but my personal approach is not to, I don't want to think about the effect that I'm having on the audience, if that makes sense. My allegiance and my focus is all about getting to the bottom of what makes this character or any character function in their everyday life. And that means I have a very sort of simple background. I read a book when I was about 16 or 17, a very famous actor's handbook by an incredible practitioner called Stanislavski, who inspired me to become an actor. And I read that book in a couple of days, and it left a permanent imprint on my life. And I use that system really quite religiously in every role that I undertake. I sort of compare it with, you know, building, if you're building a house, you could be building a small house or you could be building a huge house or a mansion. Ultimately, the infrastructure and the processes and the practices behind building that house are the same. So you build your foundations and then you build your base and you build your structure and then you put all the stuff inside and then you furnish it. But some houses are, I suppose some houses take a little more time to build. Some houses have a few more problems. Some houses are a bit more complex. There are stumbling blocks along the way. And this particular role was a real mountain to climb. When I read it on the page, I thought, wow, this is, how am I going to do this? And that's instantly, I know, when I read a role that's written like that, I know that I have to do it. I want to do it. I don't want anything to be easy in my professional life or even in my private life. You know, I'm a big runner. I run long distances. I just ran a marathon a couple of days ago with my son, and he had a really hard time, but I was trying to sort of teach him that actually mental toughness and perseverance and commitment and dedication and work ethic are all really important things when you're starting out in life, starting out in a career. And sorry, I'm going off piste a bit here, sorry, but ultimately I read the role and I thought, wow, this is really complex. And I thought to myself, how am I going to do this? I'm really attracted to the extremities of the human condition and what it takes as an actor to create mind, body and soul from someone that doesn't exist, or maybe probably has existed, but in my mind, I have to create that from the bottom up. And I work very instinctively. I work very organically. I don't set out with, I'm going to play it like this. I'm going to play it like, I remember my first day on set, I didn't know what I was going to do. We had every scene with the captain in is, as you guys know who have seen it, is sort of a monumental scene. We have one scene in particular which goes on for about, I think it's about 15 minutes, wasn't it? I think we shot it in the middle of the night for about 6 hours. And I mean, I've never done a 15-minute scene before. And it was an undertaking and a challenge. And that's what life is about, isn't it? It's about putting yourself in difficult circumstances, putting yourself in a mindset and a frame of mind that is so alien to your own, and trying to understand what makes that character tick and what does that character want from this scenario. And actually, yeah, I suppose he haunts the screen, but ultimately I'd like to think that I tried to find some humanity in this character that can be very easily perceived as Machiavellian. He wasn't Machiavellian. He's trying to do his job and he's trying to do what he's being paid to do. And at the end, hopefully there's a bit of humanity and sincerity to the role, perhaps. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely, and very well said, because since I said I've seen the film at least 4 times, every time I saw it, I was always thinking, as I was approaching the end again, whether Captain is a villain, Captain is a bad guy, or he's a good guy. And trust me, you walk away with such sympathy, such love, because like you said, you're doing your job. It's like a soldier. When you're at the border, you have to shoot. If you don't shoot, somebody will shoot you. So that is the name of the game. But let's talk about this scene, because the man who made that scene happen on the screen is here. Travis, tell us about that scene. It's such a complex scene, 15 minutes, almost 15 minutes, which Rudy mentioned about. How did you guys conceive and made it happen? It's not very easy to put 1 minute on the screen. And you had such an engaging scene.
Thank you. I really appreciate that you liked that scene and that it worked and that it came across. Obviously, and we did it very quickly, like Rudy pointed out. And luckily, we did it in the middle of the shoot so that our crew was very well oiled at that point. We were very much in sync with each other, and we were able to execute it very quickly. And luckily, Rudy, obviously, he came very prepared for every scene. But so did the other actors in that scene. Nitin Ganatra, Meera Ganatra, Nikhil Singh Ray, everybody showed up ready to work. And so when you've got a team like that, it's very easy to, well, I wouldn't say very easy, but you're able to execute very quickly. And it was really fortunate that we were able to do that, because in filmmaking, but especially indie filmmaking, you got to do things quick. And you hope that you're able to capture magic. And I think we were able to do that in a number of the scenes in the movie, especially the scenes with Rudy, because he brings such intensity to every moment, and the camera just loves this guy. We were really blessed to have Rudy. And I knew from my first conversation with Rudy that we had finally found our captain. I had spoken to a couple of different people who we were interested in for the captain, but they just didn't seem to get it. You know, they wanted to play it one way or the other, which I felt would be two-dimensional, and I was looking for somebody who understood the captain three-dimensionally, who had a very well-rounded view of it. And Rudy was that guy from the very beginning.
Yes, which is so true. But between you and Rashana, tell us about the real two challenges. I know you had a challenge of location itself, which actually has no relevance when you see the screen. If you don't mention where you shot it, it comes across the real location. And I know where it was shot finally. So tell us the two biggest challenges as a producer and as a director.
Do you want to go first, Raj?
Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong went wrong. And that's beautiful, right? My Buddhist teacher, Geshe Damji said, if things don't go wrong, what are you going to learn in life? And so this film, I have never been challenged like the people who live in conflict zones for, existential reasons. And this film, I think, got me a little close to that feeling. The biggest challenge was casting. We needed 4 boys who could look like friends, who could understand the loss of friendship, of love, of innocence. The biggest challenge was to find the captain. We went through hundreds of names, and a week before the shoot, we found Rudy. And normally the biggest challenge is to find money, but Chaitra made that really simple. In exactly 7 days, she raised the funds for the film. And she said, how much do you need? I gave her a number. And in a week, she called and said, come and meet everyone, all these beautiful women who are going to invest. And I couldn't believe it. I'm still in shock and awe of the power of a community, of when 1,000 people come together. Nothing is impossible. And Women in Cloud has really taught me the power of community. I've been a very solo person my whole life. And now I believe in understanding that if you have to make a movement, if you have to make movies and take it to the world, Hollywood is the biggest influencer in the world. This collaboration is very unique for this film. The third biggest challenge was to deliver what the director and writer wanted in the very little money we had. So I'll let him talk about those challenges.
Travis, your turn.
Yeah, I would say that the greatest challenge, I guess they say there's 3 things that tax you in making a movie. You're limited by time, you're limited by money, and you're limited by talent. So out of those 3 things, you have to make the most of what you've got. So in some instances, we were very limited by time. Other instances, we couldn't do certain things because of money. But we had a lot of talent working with us. And I feel very blessed and fortunate that we had a lot of talent working with us. Everything from our producers, our executives, our actors, and our crew, to our post-production team. We had a lot of people who felt very personally connected to the story and wanted to go the extra mile, which is what you need in an indie film, is people that are willing to go the extra mile, who aren't saying, that's not my job, or I need my break now, or you got to pay me some more money, or I'm not going to work anymore. We've been very fortunate in finding a lot of people that say, it's okay, I'm going to keep working because I like this story, I like this movie, and I want to get it done.
I'll mention two small things. Our DOP said, you don't have money for lights, so he forced us, kept twisting our arm to change all the night scenes to day scenes. And we were like, oh my God, now we had to go and beg writer, director to change some of these scenes, because if they're not in the night, then, the script has to be reworked on. The second challenge would be the sun was supposed to come out here, so now we can't shoot in this part of the mountain, now we have to shoot in this part of the mountain. To move the entire setup in areas where most of our locations we could only reach by foot, and to carry the heavy equipment and request our actors to walk. We can't ferry you all the way to the exact spot of shoot. Some of these challenges were every day we were improvising. The whole process is always like that with indie films. But to have a temperament, to still be happy, the means to the end is very much what we learned in this film.
True. No, that's one of the biggest factors when you shoot on location, a new location, and a complex subject like this. In my experience of making film or television, is the same thing. It's very complicated, and if you have a team that cooperates, the actors, the director, the crew, everything must come together. But let's go back to the lady. Chaitra, are you here? We don't see you.
Yeah, I'm here, Sunil.
Okay. Chaitra, now this is the last question. When you agreed to do this film along with your friends and your colleagues and the team, you had a certain vision because you saw the story, you read the story, you read the script, you heard from them. And now when you look back, actually on the screen, when you see it, how does it feel between the two?
I would say, Sunil, when we as the group of women who came together, we were thinking like builders. Like, how do we take this film global? How do we create the awareness? And how do we open up meaningful conversation? But when Roshana was saying is we need the funding. And at that time, we had to really come together and say, how do we ensure that the movie actually happens? And what stood out at that time was the friendship between all the executive producers. And what came out in the movie is also the friendship between the four characters. So that was very amazing to see, because in the middle of tension or conflict or uncertainty, there's a care, there's a loyalty, and there's a humanity. So what we did outside of the movie was exactly what was inside the movie, because that's what the friendships showed. And for us, it was really beautiful, because in the real conflict zones, that's what people hold on to. It's not the politics, it's not the narratives, because people hold on to each other. And what we were very happy that the vision of the movie, how Roshana has shared with us, not only it was represented, but it was expanded, where we were able to really see the emotional truth. We were able to see the friendship. We were able to see the actors really do. And Rudy, you still haunt me with your real story every time. It was so powerful, because when we watched, we had chills and we were like, wow, this is a pretty cool movie. And the friendship showed up so well. So it was just absolutely a brilliant movie for us to really take it global and create the awareness we needed.
Congratulations for your listeners, reviewers, for your connection. One more time, this is the Global Media Conference for a beautiful film. It's an experience called Line of Control, which will be released soon, that few minutes. I have very important observation about the film when I saw it and when I reflected on it. Chaitra said, it's not a war film. It's probably a love story. It's about a story of friends. It's a story about parents. It's all systems coming together and how they get affected. That is the beauty of the film. When you see it, everything connects with you. But let's ask the man, Travis, why should anybody see this film? Travis? Did we lose him? Okay, next, Rashana, why should people see this film? Because that's a lot of investment of time. People have to see the film.
I would say the future begins the moment someone decides not to pick up the gun. And that thought has remained with me, and I'm very strongly a believer of nonviolence. An eye for an eye, Mahatma Gandhi said, this is vicious cycle of in the war, and the decisions, the questions our protagonist, our boy, asked in this film. I hope that a lot of young people at 15, 16, 18, I had no maturity of understanding if I was thrown in a conflict zone, in a war zone. And I hope that the youth would watch this film. I hope that they would understand that they have the right to ask questions and to make independent choices. The choices shouldn't be forced down on them.
Thank you. Rudy, why should people see this film?
I think people should see this film not just because it's a story that has largely gone under the radar over the years, but also, like, more than that. Yes, it's an education. Yes, it's an insight into something that not many people know about. But also, aside from that, like on a more micro level, I think it's really important for people, for young people today in particular, to dream and have aspirations and have ambitions and have goals in life, because we live in a very weird era right now for multiple reasons. We live in a strange environment, and our children are living in an environment very different to the environment that I grew up in, for lots of different reasons. But underlying all of that, I think that it's utterly paramount that the kids of today, the young people of today, have that they dream and they have aspirations, and they try to work towards something that they feel passionate about. And also, you know, I think that scene that we're talking about, that comes about a third of the way through the film, that 15-minute scene, I think it's a pretty special piece of work. I think it's a really wonderful achievement from the crew and the cast and the writer and the director and everyone involved in the film. But I think that 15-minute scene was something that I feel very proud of, actually. It's not something you see very often.
Excellent. We have Travis back. Travis, why should anybody see this film? Why should people see this film worldwide?
Oddly enough, I can hear everyone, but I can't hear Sunil.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Rashana, can you repeat the question?
Sunil is asking, why should anyone see this film?
Oh, well, I think if you like cinema, I think you'll enjoy seeing this movie. I think it's a very unique story. It's kind of like asking, why should you read the book The Collaborator by Mirza Waheed? I mean, it gives you a snapshot of what it's like to be in a conflict zone. And it's not just that, but if you like stories about friendship, especially in difficult situations, this is that kind of movie. Yeah, check it out.
And Chaitra, why should the audience globally see this film? This film is in English, Hindi, and is also dubbed in Arabic now for audience anywhere. Chaitra?
Sure, Sunil. When Anne, Mintry, Monica, Pruitt, Amanda, Dexter, Prasad, and Romy, we all came together. We knew that this film is going to be extremely timely to invest because it's deeply human. And we are living in a moment where geopolitical tensions are rising across the world. And most of us experience the conflicts through headlines, statistics, or distance. And this film actually closes the distance because it really shows what's the real impact of conflict, not on the nations or on the relationships, but on the identity and the everyday life. So at the heart of the film, the friendship between the four people comes very beautifully on the screen, is how they care for each other, they want to protect each other and make impossible choices. And that's why I want each one of you to watch it, because it is about the humanity within the conflict. And these movie actually initiate the real conversation, and it will also stay with you because it will make you think, it will make you feel. And in the world where it's becoming extremely divided, we need the stories that bring us together, that makes us human. So I want each of you to look at the line of control in a ways. What is the line that you will cross for your friend or for your family? And what does that conflict looks like? You can feel it on the screen and you can really have a great conversation.
Very well said. Very well said. So, Shana, when is the film going to be released and where can we see it?
Film's releasing in Southeast Asia and Middle East in Hindi and English, sir. It's actually subtitled in Arabic. It's coming out on April 17th on Apple and Google and a couple of other platforms. It's a digital release. I must share that all the film festivals in India and platforms have shied away from this movie, which is fine. I think it tells us we did something right with it.
Thank you. We wish you all the luck. Let's read some quick questions from our guests. We have a question from Ekta. Ekta says, congratulations on the very relevant piece of work. And her question to Travis is how difficult or easy it was to write this adaptation.
Every project comes with its challenges. I'm not sure I would say it was easy to write this adaptation. Luckily, Mirza had written a beautiful book, and there were many things in the book that I really liked and wanted to make sure was in the movie. So the question became, how do you take something like this? Mirza's book is a lot of like the internal dialogue of the characters, and how do you put that on film? One of the challenges of film is that you can't, without a voiceover, you can't really show what is going on internally with a character, not in the way you do in a novel, which is just all through prose. So that had to be translated, and I would say that was probably the most difficult part, especially for the boy who's the protagonist of the film. His internal monologue, which is basically the entire novel, had to be translated onto screen, and a lot of his internal monologue is about his friends who he's lost and the time that he spends with them and the loneliness he feels going through these valleys with the dead, sitting with the dead, just wandering through the mountains. And it's beautiful. But then also at the same time, we're limited. We have 2 hours to work with. We have to tell a narrative. You know, there needs to be a main conflict that pushes the story forward. Yeah, those were the main difficulties. One of my favorite scenes in the movie for me is when the boy it's just after the arrest of Kadeem Hussein, and we find the boy laying in the valley next to a dead body. And he basically has this little monologue there where he talks to the dead body and is basically projecting his feelings onto that body about his regrets, his survivor guilt. And then like 10 minutes after that, he has a scene where he's in the bedroom and he talks to his friends who have left and who he imagines are now dead. So those for me are my favorite scenes, because a lot of that dialogue came from the book, and it really, I felt, on screen portrays that loneliness, and I hope was able to capture that loneliness, that feeling of loneliness from the book.
Thank you, Travis. There is another question. I think this is for Ashana from Kamran Bashir. What was your attempt at materializing a certain Kashmiriyat in the film? Was it just a storytelling or more? And what was the real intentional element, something that was holding absolute primacy for the bulk of the film? What was your real intent behind the film?
Our real intent was, I truly believe that for multiple centuries, when wars are initiated or conflicts are initiated, it's masterminded to eliminate youth and the DNA of a group, and it targets the most intelligent DNA and to eradicate it just so the herders are left who will follow them blindly. And there is no knowledge passed on. because you've now skipped a whole generation and engaged them in wars, and then to create hatred and keep them busy in this vicious cycle of hatred. My intention was to make a film for all the young people and youth to understand the various aspects, the other side of the war with this film. And my intention was to reach out to every such person in the world.
Very, very well said. To our viewers, I can tell you, since I've seen the film, every word that Rashana is saying comes across on the screen. You can see it, you can feel it. What the director said, what the actor Rudy said, and what Chaitra's vision was when they set out to make this film. Line of Control, LOC, will be released this week, I think 17th, as she said, and it's initially limited release from the Southeast Asia and Middle East. It's in 2 versions, English and Hindi, and it has subtitles in Arabic. We really thank everyone who is here, who gave their time to us. Request to you is, such films are very rare to make, very difficult to make. There are challenges, but what is important is the word of mouth. If you can share on your social media handles, on your WhatsApps, on your emails, on your social meeting gatherings, wherever you go, just mention to people that you know and you interact with about what you heard today. If it touches you, if it gives you a compelling reason, please take little time beyond what you already gave it to us, and we remain grateful to you, and share with anybody, because good work must spread and should be shared.
I just want to say we have all the questions. I've copied them to each one of you. We will reply to you today itself. Thank you for your time. Thank you for posing the questions. We are on Instagram with the stories, behind the screen stories, a lot of our stories of how we made the film. Some of the challenges were discussed here. It's on Line of Control movie. All our stories are available on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We will be sharing the link of the film on 17th. Thank you so much. There is a personal screener I've shared with all of you, which will be open for another 24 hours. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Chaitra. Thank you, Sunil ji. Thank you so much. And Travis, none of this would have been possible without your vision and helping us make this film. He's very right. I did not want any baggage of an Indian or a Hindu or a Muslim while making this film. We really wanted it to be cinematically correct adaptation of this very sensitive book, The Collaborator.
And I confirm it because I've seen it. When you see it, you can come back and share your thoughts one more time. Sunil, Hali signing off from this session, the Global Media Conference, with the executive producer Chaitra, Vedulapalli, producer Rashana, lead star Rudy Dharmalingam, even though every actor in this film has a superb role. And then the man behind this script and the direction, Travis Hodgkins. Have a wonderful day, all of you. Let the world be peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.